Hey everyone, I'm Theresa Kulikowski-Gillespie. I'm a functional medicine physician assistant and mindfulness teacher with Kestrel Wellness. And I just got back from a retreat this weekend. I live here at West Point, New York, and right across the river is a retreat center called Garrison Institute. And I just needed to get away and do a retreat. So over the weekend, I went over there and it was on contemplative leadership. And it was really amazing. I just have to say that. And I wanted to tell a little story and a lesson that I learned over this weekend. So, I guess a little background. I tend to get incredibly panicked when I have to speak in front of people. And so a lot of the day on Saturday, I was feeling like I wanted to speak up, but like the panic in my body was overwhelming. And I have all the tools, I feel like I've got the breathing and the self-compassion, but it's just this reaction that happens in the body. And I was just feeling sick of it. I was feeling frustrated one of our little practices that we did that morning was she was saying, I want to be a leader because I'm heartbroken about, and we fill in the blank. I want to be a leader because I'm angry about. I don't want to be a leader because I'm afraid of. And of course, my afraid of was I'm afraid of sharing my voice in groups. I'm afraid of that public speaking and being out in front of people. And so her instruction was, well, why don't you, during our break, take your answers and go seek counsel. I love the way she said that. Seek counsel from the elements. So go outside, share your vision, share what you're heartbroken about, share what you're angry about, what you're afraid of. Share it with the trees and the earth and the sky. And I'm a very nature-loving kind of person, and I really feel connected to nature. And so I went back behind the retreat center, and there was a little bamboo forest back there. They have a bamboo forest that they've grown, and I was crying, sharing my vision and sharing my fears and just that utter exhaustion of living with so much fear for such a long time. And as I finished my practice, I was remembering something else that she said that morning, which was, sometimes you're going to be out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to be uncomfortable in order to reach your goals and do all the things that you want to do in life. And I just had this feeling of like, that doesn't feel true to me right now. And what if for some of us, it's actually the opposite? So instead of discomfort, instead of tolerance of discomfort, can you actually tolerate comfort? Can you be okay with things being okay? And because in my life, the vision that came to my mind was like a rubber band that's been stretched so far for so long that when you let go of it, there's no resilience to it. It doesn't snap back. It's just big and saggy. Not that that's what I feel like I am, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's lost its ability to do what its job is, and it's lost its adaptability. It's just, it doesn't have any elasticity to it anymore. And that's kind of what I felt in my own life is like, I pushed so hard and everything needed to be out of my comfort zone. And if I wasn't out of my comfort zone, then it meant that I wasn't growing, and I never knew how to come back into comfort. So I never was okay with being comfortable, resting. I always needed to be pushing the envelope a little bit more, sometimes very often to the point of overwhelm, which again, that's that rubber band that's been just stretched too far for too long. If your body's in overwhelm for so long, it eventually just like shuts down. And that's what happened to me, about 10 years ago, is my whole system just said, I can't do this anymore. And I've been on this healing journey myself. But anyways, so I was questioning that in myself. Like, I don't think that's true for me. I don't think I need to push myself out of my comfort zone anymore. I think I need to learn how to tolerate comfort. And as I was pondering this idea, this beautiful, huge monarch butterfly flew by me. And it landed in a tree right in front of me, like right at eye level, and I was just looking at it. And its wings were completely open, like not at all closed, just completely splayed open. It almost seemed like there was a little bit of like extension in the wings. And as I looked closer, they were just a little bit shaky on the edges. And I was just watching this butterfly, and I felt like there's some connection here between what I was just thinking about in my mind and this butterfly, displaying itself, looking a little shaky, almost like a little uncertain. And it made me think about, well, the process that this butterfly had to go through in order to finally display its wings. It had to be in this cocoon for as long as it needed to be. It had to be safe. It had to have this cocoon around it of protection, of safety, and it had to let itself dissolve, like dissolve and transform. But in order for that to happen, it had to have that cocoon of safety. It wasn't pushing boundaries at that time. It wasn't trying to put itself into discomfort, as far as I can understand. But that cocoon of safety was like, it didn't have to be bouncing the boundaries all the time and pushing itself out of its comfort zone. So, but then at some point, that cocoon was no longer needed, and it opened up, and it was like fully displaying itself there. And it had that shakiness to it, which I found I just related to, because when you expose yourself, there's like a shakiness. But if you're doing it in the right time, you're still okay keeping yourself exposed and open and authentic. And you still might be a little shaky, and that's just okay. So just this whole idea of like trusting the process and being okay with comfort. So I wanted to tell this story, and ironically, like, I didn't want to to push the boundary. I didn't want to make myself feel totally uncomfortable, and yet there was something inside of me that felt like this this is the time for me to share. This is the time for me to be like that butterfly with my wings completely displayed and all of my beauty, all of my vulnerability. And so that night, I kept thinking about, well, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? And finally I was like, you know what, Teresa, you don't have to, but if you feel moved to, then do it. And so that night in our group conversation, I raised my hand, and, we're in this huge meditation hall, and I get the microphone, and I'm shaky. And so I started by saying, I'm just going to give voice to the fear that's in my body right now, because I feel like it needed to be heard. And I just said, and if I turn red like a tomato, I felt safe enough. I had like kind of that cocoon of safety around me to just let things be, like let myself flush, let myself feel embarrassed or whatever came up. And then I found that as I started talking about the story, it just kind of all came out. And I was still nervous. I was still a little bit shaky, but I shared my story, and what I thought was really cool, well, there were a lot of things that I thought were cool about this story, just these realizations for myself and the fact that I was able to share it with other people. But the monarch butterfly, the symbolism is, transformation and rebirth. But also a common theme of our retreat that weekend was ancestral intelligence, and like trusting the intelligence that courses through us all because of our ancestors who came before us, and remembering that we are going to be a future ancestor. And so how do we want to leave our mark? And so a lot around just ancestors, and that one of the symbolisms of the monarch butterfly is your ancestors are coming back to talk to you. So there were just, I don't know, just like a magic in that whole experience, like a realization for myself, a symbol from the universe of like, okay, it's okay to go through this cocooning phase, go through some transformation, and maybe there's some like ancestral wisdom in all of this, and that you can trust and open up to. So, and then the last bit of this, I got a lot of really good feedback, and people who were like, oh my gosh, that really resonated with me, and thank you for sharing that. And so to remember that, the things that make us vulnerable can also connect us with other people. So today I was doing my journaling and I was looking back through our booklet that they gave us on our Contemplative Leadership Sanctuary booklet that we had for the weekend. And there were these beautiful pictures of drawings of Native Americans. And I just turned to the back of the book and I hadn't noticed this picture before. And it was this beautiful Native American woman with her eyes closed and her hands kind of in a prayer position. And in front of her on a purple flower was this beautiful monarch butterfly. And it just made me, I don't know, gave me chills in my body to just feel like, okay, there's something bigger than me. And it's okay to like surrender into that and to trust that. So I wanted to share this story. I'm not a religious person by any means, but the spiritual aspect of that story and just like the realizations and the trust in the process, and then something from nature coming by to say, yeah, I think there's something true to this. You know, you can trust this. It was all just a really beautiful experience, and I wanted to share it. You know, bring a little bit of good news into the day, and I had gone into this retreat with a couple of very, very tough weeks behind me, just emotionally and mentally, physically. And I feel a bit lighter today. And I think in large part because of the process over the weekend. So I just wanted to, connect with you in this way and keep your eye out for those little universal symbols, those little universal, sometimes big universal messages that let you know, you're on the right path. Perhaps you're doing everything right. You can trust your process. It's okay to settle into comfort sometimes, and just keep your eyes and ears open. Thank you.